The Faithful Fanatic is live. This is a Thanksgiving edition slash 49ers at Rams preview. Let's talk little Thanksgiving. And for all of our listeners, all of you who tune in, Marco and I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Things are certainly drastically different this year as far as the small gatherings. We were chatting before the show kicked off about how our group sizes for Thanksgiving was so abnormally small. We're sure you guys had a similar experience with all these crazy restrictions going on. Let's go Thanksgiving power rankings. What are your top three Thanksgiving foods?
See, I'm gonna go ham. I'm gonna go ham, mashed potatoes, and mac and cheese. If you have a good mac and cheese, I think it's phenomenal.
You're a ham over turkey guy?
Most definitely. See, the only turkey I'll eat is my grandma's. She makes like a salsa with it, so like she drenches it with some salsa. That's the only one I'll eat. Besides that, most turkeys, I don't care if you know how to make it. Turkey's dry.
Yeah, that's tough to argue. And with turkey, you got to have the gravy with it, moisten it up a little bit. Turkey's definitely boom or bust. You got the honey baked hams?
Yeah, honey baked ham.
Honey baked ham, mashed potatoes, and what was your third one? Oh, the mac and cheese?
Mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese. Oh, that's tough to follow up. That's a tough one to follow up. I have this weird Thanksgiving, not necessarily a fetish. I can't think of a better word to use, but canned Ocean Spray cranberry sauce is my favorite. I love cranberry sauce, and it's one of those Thanksgiving items that's so controversial because people feel a certain way about its texture, its form. I love cranberry sauce. Cranberry sauce is up there. It reminds me of Thanksgiving. It's one of the few times around the year that I get to enjoy cranberry sauce. Stuffing. You left off stuffing. I'm a huge stuffing guy.
All right, so question for you. What do you consider stuffing? When you actually cook it in the turkey or when it's outside cooked?
Oh, outside. My grandma makes a phenomenal stuffing. She's 100 years old, so I didn't get to spend Thanksgiving with her this time around, but in years past, my grandma's Thanksgiving stuffing top notch. So I'm going to go cranberry sauce, stuffing, and I'm going to throw in turkey because I don't normally eat turkey ever on sandwiches, very rarely. I'm more of like a ham if I'm going to Subway, the chicken bacon ranch melt. Those are my go-tos, but turkey on Thanksgiving, that's elite. And I kind of like the KFC famous bowl style where I just throw everything on my plate, take it all down. Are you one of those guys that just eat one item at a time?
Yeah, I eat one item. It depends. Like depending on what I'm eating, I'll mix it all. But I like to eat one item at a time most of the time. But I see what you're trying to do. He's trying to get Ocean Spray to sponsor us like the dude.
What is Dogface?
Yeah, Dogface.
Dogface 420. Shout out Dogface 420. He's got his juice commercial. What is Fleetwood Mac?
Yep.
Maybe we'll get sponsored by Ocean Spray. We just gotta have, instead of a bottle of cranberry juice, either one of us holding it, I'll have a can of Ocean Spray cranberry sauce because I love that. But yeah, when it comes to Thanksgiving, mix everything together on my plate. I dip my turkey in the mashed potatoes, whatever else I have going on. I can't do the one item at a time. It's too tedious for me. I'm just everything in my mouth at once, and I'm eating. Thanksgiving leftovers. What's your favorite leftover?
Favorite leftover? I go ham. Ham or turkey because you can throw it on a sandwich. So those are both elite.
Yeah,
probably those two. Mashed potatoes and gravy, you can't go wrong with either.
Never. Yeah, the post Thanksgiving sandwich is a great meal. That's one of my personal favorite sandwiches right there. Let's jump in to before we jump into some football, here's another. Black Friday was yesterday. Are you a huge Black Friday shopper?
I'm not. See, like for me, yeah. I think Black Friday is ridiculous. They open up stores on Thursday. Thankfully this year because of COVID, they had all those stores closed, so people were actually be able to be with their families. But I don't like Black Friday. I'd rather do online shopping.
I've never physically went into a Black Friday environment in my life, ever. I used to have friends that would wake up 1, 2 in the morning, whatever time they open the stores on the early Friday, Thursday night. I'm like, you're out of your minds. The deals aren't that insane. At least I didn't think they were. The online route's definitely the way to go. I keep trying to get a PS5, and they're just flying like hotcakes. I can't get one anywhere. So that's my personal frustration right now is just no luck with the PS5.
You got to pay $1,000 to get that right now.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Absolutely wild. I've been on the PS5 Sony Direct queue, and I get right up there towards the front, and it's like, sorry, PS5 is done for the day. So it's tough sledding out there. We got Thanksgiving, we got Black Friday, looking ahead to Sunday, 49ers at Rams. This is why we're here. We talk football. Many, many storylines regarding the 49ers right now. They're all over the news for whatever reason. Today, the Santa Clara County Council announced that there will be no professional sport gatherings, collegiate gatherings, or anything along those lines for the next couple of weeks. The 49ers, the San Francisco 49ers who play in Santa Clara, are without a home. Before we preview this game against the Rams, what are your thoughts on that? Where would you like to see the 49ers play? There has been a lot going around Twitter that there is already a contingency plan in place going into the season. Supposedly, each team had to have a contingency plan if they were no longer allowed to play in their city or county. Where would they go? So supposedly, there's something already in place for the 49ers. What do you think going to happen, or where would you like to see them play?
So I know I've seen that the NFL said that they have to play at an NFL stadium. It has because they already have NFL regulation, like for the protocol that they're going through. I honestly, I think that what they'll end up doing is they'll go up to Arizona. They'll play at Arizona, not too far from them. They also have a couple buddies they know out there. John Lynch's godfather of Herm Edwards' kids, so they'll go up there and they'll probably station there and work out at their facility after them or before them, however it has to be, and they'll figure it out at Arizona Stadium. If the games match up, you also got to realize we have to look at when the 49ers would host teams and when they wouldn't be hosting teams. I don't know the Arizona schedule. I see people throwing out the Dallas Cowboys stadium, Jerry Jones World. I don't want that. I mean, I understand get fans in the stadium, but then if you, as a number one franchise, the 49ers are, to go into another supposedly elite franchise and use their stadium, it's a bad look. I'd rather go to Arizona and use their stadium. They're not an elite franchise.
That's tough to argue. With the Cowboys, someone, I believe it was Akash from 4th and 9, who laid everything out, Cowboy schedule, 49er schedule, and when the 49ers have their home games for the next 6 weeks, the Cowboys are always on the road. So that's why the Cowboys are a possibility, because whenever the 49ers need a stadium to play in, the Cowboys stadium, Jerry's World, is going to be vacant because they're on the road playing wherever. So with the regulations that they need to be playing in an NFL stadium, Dallas is certainly a possibility. You touched on Arizona. LA is in worse condition than Santa Clara right now, and they're up and running. I don't know whether or not the Rams play at home or the road when the 49ers have their home games. But let's say that there was no regulations. The 49ers can play at any Bay Area field. Where would you like to see them play?
I would like to see them open up Oracle Park and make that a football stadium. I do not want to be playing at the old Coliseum. It's a bad look. You can't go from being in San Francisco to moving to Santa Clara to going to play some ball in Oakland. It just doesn't look right. I don't want to have that feeling where the 49ers are playing in the Oakland Raiders Stadium. It just doesn't look right. I would say Oracle Park.
Oracle Park, that'd be cool. And, of course, they've hosted football games before with the bowl games. They used to have the Foster Farms Bowl, and I think it later became the Emerald Bowl. So Oracle Park, AT&T Park, whatever you want to call it, they have hosted football games in the past. I personally like to see Kezar. Bring back Kezar for a couple weeks. I don't know what condition the field's in. If it were up to NFL standards and there were no requirements in place regarding where the 49ers needed to play, I would personally vote Kezar. Bonte Hill also threw out the idea of City College. City College has a very nice football field, very nice campus in San Francisco. I'm going to disagree with you, though, for one thing about it being a bad look. Because at this time, with COVID and everything that's going on, can't really pick and choose where you want to play. It's completely out of your control. So if you have to just suck up your pride and play a few home games in Dallas, then so be it. Because right now, the 49ers are in no position to be picky on where they want to go. And it almost seems like the city of Santa Clara has it out for the 49ers. I was reading an article a couple weeks back about the relationship between Jed York and the Santa Clara City Council, where he was funding millions and millions and millions of dollars in the upcoming election to try to get the Santa Clara City Council more 49er oriented. Because Levi Stadium is owned by the city of Santa Clara. It's not owned by Jed York. And of course, Jed York, as owner of the 49ers, has to feel some sort of entitlement towards that stadium because that's where his multi-billion-dollar franchise plays. So we'll follow along to what happens, but this is the second big thing now that Santa Clara has kind of thrown in the 49ers direction, with the first one being once Governor Gavin Newsom said you can allow sports fans in your stadium if your county is in whatever tier color it was at the time, and Santa Clara said, nope, we're not allowing any fans into our games. And that was supposed to go into effect the night of the Green Bay Packers game, and is a moot point now because not only can the 49ers not have fans in their stadium, they also can't play in their own stadium.
They can't even practice in their own stadium. It's ridiculous, man. Like, for me, the reason why I don't want to be in Dallas is because Dallas and that 49ers rivalry back in the 90s. And, like, I'm not trying to hear the freaking Cowboys fan base. I would rather go down to L.A. and play at the Rams stadium. So that's one of those reasons I don't want to hear the Cowboy fans I know. Yeah. So that's why I'm like, it'll be a battle. I'm not trying to hear it.
And it's something that they'll always throw in your face for those fans. They'll be like, oh, remember that one time that the Niners had to play in the Cowboys stadium? And it's just like, all right, well, there was COVID going on, so that's why we were there. Otherwise, we'll stay many, many miles west of your stadium where we belong. And that's going to be a fun matchup. The 49ers and Cowboys play each other in a couple weeks. Right now, it's scheduled for Sunday Night Football. Whether or not it remains Sunday night, but if I had to put money on it, I'd say it's going to get flexed out of prime time. They'll find a better game to put on there. But what's going around the NFL right now is crazy. The Denver Broncos are playing tomorrow's game with no quarterback. It's just so wild. This is so classic for the NFL to not handle anything at all on a consistent basis. And you can say, yes, it's COVID. They're learning as they're going. There wasn't a concrete plan in place, but we've seen the same issues handled in drastically different fashion from Roger Goodell, whether it was a player getting caught for smoking weed or performance enhancing. There's just so many different terrible ways or situations that have been handled so drastically different that have been the same. That's basically what I'm getting at here.
I agree with you. They have not done – they've been consistently inconsistent. They really have. And it's kind of ridiculous. It's kind of ridiculous how the NFL has acted. So Lamar Jackson comes down with it. So they know that it's Lamar. So they try to push it back, but there's no way of going around it because you have to pass 6 days in a row. So I thought that was a little iffy. The 49ers had to play with a practice squad lineup. I mean, you just have to roll with the punches, like you said. It's a 2020 year. There's COVID. You have to do what you have to do. I just want to see the 49ers play some competitive ball. I don't think that Sunday night game against the Cowboys gets flexed out because you're going to get a lot of ratings. There's two big fan bases. Yeah. So you're going to get a huge amount of ratings, and the NFL is looking for that right now. So I don't think it gets flexed out. I think it's going to be one of those games where it's going to be competitive, but it's going to be an ugly football game.
Yeah. It's a tough sell if you're not invested in the 49ers or the Cowboys franchise for just a NFL fan or as an NFL fan outside of those two franchises. Who's going to want to see Nick Mullins and Andy Dalton square off on Sunday Night Football? If there's a game with bigger implications, there's the possibility it does get flexed out. But like you're saying, it will draw a lot of views just from these two storied franchises being in prime time Sunday night.
It's like who wanted to watch Dallas versus Washington football team on Thanksgiving? No
one. But shout out Alex Smith, though. All right, 49ers Rams. This game is on for Sunday. The 49ers still have some players on the COVID reserve list, most notably wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk. Trent Williams, luckily, is off the COVID list. He may or may not play tomorrow, but it's looking like he will play. He hasn't practiced this whole week because he has been on the COVID list. The plan was for Justin Skule to start at left tackle. The additions don't come with subtractions. When I'm talking about, or they do come with subtractions, the additions of Deebo Samuel, Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson Jr. are going to be huge for the 49ers in this game. But again, those additions do not come without the subtractions of Brandon Aiyuk. And they're missing a few other players to injury and to the COVID list.
So I don't know if Trent Williams is going to play. He does have to pass one more test tomorrow morning. I don't know what test it is. Could be a COVID test, so that's up in the air. If I had a guess, my guess is he plays due to the way they activated him today. But like you said, the 49ers offense gets a lot of weapons back. They get their running game back. They get a receiver who I wish it's weird. The 49ers lose Jordan Reed. So then they have Kittle. Kittle comes back. They lose Jordan Reed. Jordan Reed comes back. Kittle's gone. The same thing with Deebo and Brandon Aiyuk. Like, I just want to see both of them on the field together. And that's not going to happen for another week or so. So I would like to see the 49ers get that run game going. You forgot one of the big key additions, Richard Sherman added back. I'm not as fond of that addition as the other ones, but
so we're in agreement on this, and correct me if I'm wrong. Richard Sherman's more of a name at this point.
Absolutely, he limits your defense, Nick.
He's Richard Sherman, big name, very well decorated career, but at this stage in his career, I truly do believe that you're better off with Emmanuel Moseley and Jason Verrett as your two corners. So I meant no disrespect to Richard Sherman whatsoever by leaving him off the names of players who are returning. It's just that where is he going to fit in? How is he going to alter this defense? There's going to be a lot more zone coverage that needs to be ran. And with Jason Verrett, he's offered defensive coordinator Robert Saleh a lot more versatility in what he can game plan for, what he can scheme up.
Realistically, so the way I see it is Richard Sherman is an elite name, but he handcuffs Robert Saleh just like the quarterbacks handcuff Kyle Shanahan. So now when Richard Sherman's in the game, you have to run a lot more zone because you can't get up in their face and play man. And what that does to Robert Saleh, it limits your D-line because your D-line is not that good. So you don't give them as much time to get home to the quarterback. But against these receivers that we're going up against some studs. Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, these dudes are no joke. And I don't see Richard Sherman keeping up with that man-to-man and coming off that Achilles or calf injury, but it's more of an Achilles. So I don't like the addition of Richard Sherman. I was hoping they kept him on the IR a little longer. I don't see him coming back next year unless he transitions to safety, but he is a long strider and his body won't keep up at safety. He's too small.
I agree with that. I'll ask you this question. Do you believe that Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods are the best receiver duo in the NFL?
That's hard to say because you have DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett in the same division. Whenever you have like a receiver like Devontae Adams, the Atlanta Falcons have Julio Jones and Ridley.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
So they're up there. The Cowboys have a trio of receivers, but they just don't know how to use them because they don't have a quarterback. So I wouldn't say they're up there. They're up there, maybe top 7, top 6 of them.
Top 7.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the entire league because you have Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson. I'd probably put above them. So a lot of names that don't have the name recognition of Cooper Kupp, and I like production rather than names.
Yeah, the name. No, of course, and that's a tough one to argue. You dropped some very good duos right there with Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen with the Vikings, and Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones was a very good one. That slipped my mind. Calvin Ridley is a receiver to me that personally always slips through the cracks of my brain for whatever reason. In fantasy drafts, I forget about Calvin Ridley. Is this his third year now?
I believe so. I believe it's his third year.
So we had the huge rookie season, if I remember correctly. Was he as big last year, or did he miss a handful of games? Because I feel like the resurrection of Calvin Ridley this season has been huge. Absolutely huge.
So last year, his rookie year, he had 800 yards. Last year, he had 866 yards, and this year he's already at 750. His
what
rookie year.
Where was he touchdown-wise?
Touchdown-wise, wow, they have this broken down real weird. Receiving, I'm probably not even seeing it. I think I'm going blind, Nick.
We're going Calvin Ridley, PFR. PFR is the go-to source.
I'm on there, but I think I'm lost.
All right, I got it. We are looking at Calvin Ridley's stat line. His rookie year, he had 10 touchdowns. 10 touchdowns his rookie year, double digits in touchdowns, followed it up with 7 touchdowns last year. He missed 3 games, and now he's on pace for about double-digit touchdowns again and over 1,000 receiving yards. So Calvin Ridley has been a very, very good complementary receiver to Julio Jones, borderline wide receiver 1. If Julio Jones is not in the picture in Atlanta, Calvin Ridley on any other team may just be that top-flight wide receiver. I have a lot of respect going back to Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. I really like the way they complement each other and how they really help out Jared Goff. I mean, if you look at the production of both Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, very under the radar, 2 wide receivers who are very, very, very good.
I love how they go about their business. It's all business. There's nothing flashy to their game. It's give me the ball. I'm going to get some yards after the catch. And it's a really hard duo to stop. And we did stop them when we played them last. Cooper Kupp didn't have much. I believe he had 27 yards. So it's going to be real interesting to see because their offense is clicking now. Their offense is putting up points, putting up numbers, and Sean McVay's dialed in. He has everything he can need. He has a good running game, a decent quarterback, a quarterback that could get it done, and he has good enough weapons on the offensive end. So going up against our defense, who has done pretty well, it does have a elite defensive coordinator calling plays. It's going to be hard for Robert Saleh to duplicate. I think their offense is much more progressed from when we've seen them in Week 6. And it's going to be a hard matchup for Robert Saleh without having DJ Jones to help soft the run. Mm-hmm. You lose Jordan Willis, who he was coming into his not own, but he was getting a little bit of run with the defense. So you're going to lose a little bit of so you're going to lose your little depth. So it's going to be hard for Robert Saleh to navigate against.
I agree with everything you just said. Going back to that Week 6 matchup, the 49ers had everything going in their favor. It was a game where they had Jimmy Garoppolo, Raheem Mostert, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle. Defensively, Jason Verrett played exceptionally well that game. And from start to finish, the 49ers really, they set the tone early and kept the tone exactly where it was at for the remainder of the game. One of their most complete wins of the year, right up there with the Patriots game. The Rams are playing really good football right now. They've won 3 of their last 4 games since these teams played each other last. They're coming off a huge Monday night win against the Buccaneers. Jared Goff, he's really, really, really good when he's on. When he's on, he's really good. And when he's not on, like he wasn't against the Dolphins, it can look really, really ugly. It's similar to Jimmy Garoppolo in a sense where when he's on, he looks good. But I think Jared Goff does look better than Jimmy Garoppolo when they're both playing at their highest level. But the bads, the lows are low for the both of them. Very, very low. Defensively, we're starting defense first before we get into the offense. Defense, we're talking about it right now. I'd like to see them minimize the long ball. And if you go back to the games that have really, really hurt the 49ers, you look at the Dolphins game, you look at the Eagles game where they got burned by Travis Fulgham on that touchdown, the Packers game, the Seahawks game, the games that the 49ers really, really struggled in, even the Dolphins, if I didn't mention that already, they were getting burned down the field. And the Rams had that one long touchdown from Jared Goff to Josh Reynolds, I believe it was. So a key for me is to limit the downfield passes from Jared Goff, have everything kept in front of the defense, and just make plays tackling the ball carrier.
So, like you said, limit the deep ball, and that's going to start with Nick. We finally get to see Tarvarius Moore start. The reason why is we're short on linebackers, and Marcel Harris is going to have to play linebacker. So we're finally going to.
I like that.
I do like that as well because you could do a lot of things with those linebackers now. So we finally get to see Tarvarius Moore playing safety, so that could help limit the deep ball, help limit the passing game of the Rams. But going to Marcel Harris, the reason why I like that is Robert Saleh needs to find out how to get pressure on Jared Goff. When Jared Goff is pressured, he's terrible. He really is. And I think that needs to be Marcel Harris's job. Find where the open lane is and shoot it like a rocket. You're electric when you're closing speed. You have closing speed. Get there and get home. Put some hits on them. And I'd rather have Fred Warner matched up on the tight ends. So it's going to be a real interesting matchup. The only thing I don't want to see is I do not want to see a lot of Richard Sherman out there. He's coming off an injury. You're going to more of a zone. And when you're going to a zone, it's easier to pick apart. When you're Jared Goff, it's okay. Hey, Cooper Kupp, run a curl, run this and that. So it's a little bit easier to run your offense when you're playing zone 90% of the time.
K'Waun Williams was suspended this week and then got his suspension rescinded. He's still out, though, with an injury. You have Jamar Taylor, who projects to be the slot cornerback, the nickel cornerback. I wonder if we'll see Emmanuel Moseley move into the slot where you get your three best corners on the field and Richard Sherman, Emmanuel Moseley, and Jason Verrett playing outside, or maybe you see Verrett in the slot, except Verrett has been so good outside this season. So maybe we'll see something along those lines. I would not mind seeing that as much as I would having Jamar Taylor in the slot, Sherman, and then either Verrett and Moseley. You have to get your best pieces on the field, your best players on the field. So that's what we're going to see from the 49ers, and I'm much more for it than having Sherman step on the field and as a result taking off Moseley or Verrett.
See, I like that idea, but then it kind of, you know where to go now. So you know, just all right, if they have that three tandem, I'm going to want to attack. You're going to want to attack the tight end, which Fred Warner's going to be on. So I like that idea. But then I'm going to line up. I'll run a 3-by-1. So I'm going to have three dudes line up on one side and put Richard Sherman man-to-man. You can't do nothing on him, and he's going to blow by you. So that's the things where when Richard Sherman's on the field that the Rams like to do. They like to do a lot of those 3-by-1 concepts and get everyone flowing one way. So that's why I don't want to see Sherman on the field unless Robert Saleh runs zone one side and man on the other because you have to mix it up with Jared Goff. Jared Goff, if you mix it up, he'll give you 2 to 3 interceptions. He's bound to have an interception a game. And if you start to confuse him, the balls come out and he just lets it go wherever. I kind of sound like I'm bashing on Richard Sherman, but I'm really not. It's just he's gotten older. He's gotten slower. I mean, mentally, he's the best in the game. His mental is the best. What I would really love to see is you keep Moseley outside. You keep Verrett outside. Let Richard Sherman match up on the tight end. So he's pretty much playing a strong safety look, but now we're in man all the way across. And he's matched up on the tight end. And I think he could go easily with Everett.
That's an interesting point of view. We'll see if we see any Richard Sherman lining up man-to-man against the tight end. Which player do you want to – or which player are you most looking forward to watching on Sunday defensively, specifically on defense?
Defensively, I'm going to have my eyes on Tarvarius Moore as well as the undrafted Daniels, the undrafted defensive lineman Daniels from Nebraska. I have my eyes on him. Coming into camp, I liked him coming out when I was watching the Davis twins, and I thought he was a good run stopper, and I thought that's what the 49ers needed with Julian Taylor out and whatnot. And then in camp, a couple people were saying that he was a lot better pass rusher than they had expected. So that's what I'm going to be looking at to see if he does get any run, which I think he should since DJ Jones is out. That's your next best run defender.
I'm going to go Marcel Harris. I do like him in that rover linebacker role. Built like a safety, has the speed of a safety, playing alongside of Fred Warner. Dre Greenlaw. What's the status of Dre Greenlaw?
He went to questionable, I believe. So that he might end up playing, but with the injury, I don't think he'll play as much because it's a groin injury, I thought.
Yeah, that's tough. But to go back to why I'm looking forward to Marcel Harris, I like Harris's aggressiveness, not so much in coverage because he has a tendency to be so aggressive that he'll blow coverages from time to time. So having him on the field with Tarvarius Moore, Jimmy Ward, potentially Richard Sherman, Jason Verrett, and Emmanuel Mosley, you can cover a lot of ground with those. And Fred Warner, that's a lot of pieces to move around coverage-wise. And the Rams, again, coming off a very, very impressive performance against the Buccaneers, throwing the football. Jared Goff has a hot hand right now, and they really need to slow him down. I like the 49ers defense to slow down the Rams running backs. I like the chances of that happening when you're looking at Darrell Henderson, Cam Akers, and Malcolm Brown. So let's flip things over. Let's go offense. Offense, the key of the game for me is to try to mimic the game plan that worked so effectively against the Rams a month or so ago. Aaron Donald was a complete non-factor in the game. Raheem Mostert was so effective and efficient in the first half before he left with an injury. Deebo Samuel getting the short area passing game going. A lot of that is going to be back. Brandon Ayuk, we touched on this. He's out. You're looking at Kendrick Bourne and Richie James, along with Samuel, as being the top three wide receivers. Offensive key to the game, ask Nick Mullins to do the same thing you would ask Jimmy Garoppolo. Short area passing game, let your playmakers get out in space and go to work. That's how I see it.
See, I'm going to ask Nick Mullins to throw the ball at maximum 20 times. I'm going to have Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert run the ball as much as they possibly can with a few end arounds from Deebo Samuel. Because what that does is the game plan from last time, I like it. But now you don't have Brandon Ayuk. Deebo isn't all there coming back from that injury. But the way Kyle Shanahan dialed up that game plan, it gave Jimmy Garoppolo the opportunity to beat the Los Angeles Rams when they send the blitz one or two times. So he actually did beat them on the blitz a few times. I don't think Nick Mullins could do that. So you're asking Nick Mullins to do a lot by having him make 2 to 3 good throws, to be honest with you. I don't think he could do that. So I'd rather see run the ball, and then play action off of that with the three receivers you have. It makes it a lot easier on Nick Mullins. That's how he won in 2018 when he was the 49ers starting quarterback. They just ran the ball and then let him play action off of it. So make it easy. Make it a simple game plan.
Absolutely, and I agree with that. You have to establish the run because when you do so, those play actions become that much more effective. And Mullins kind of drop back few steps back, one read, get the ball out of his hands, very similarly to like what we saw from Jimmy Garoppolo. Which player are you looking forward to watching the most on offense?
On offense, I'm looking forward to seeing McKivitz. I'm looking forward to seeing how he does at right guard. He's going to have his ups and downs against the best defensive player I've personally seen ever, because I didn't get to see the all-time greats back in the day. Aaron Donald is a man amongst men. So that's going to be a real interesting matchup. And I also do want to see how Richie James responds. I think he's going to be the receiver too in the 49ers offense with Brandon Ayuk out. So I want to see how he responds to that.
I'm going to go a different route here. This is a player that didn't play the first time around. I was very, very impressed with against the Saints. A guy who is climbing up my offseason priority list as far as who the 49ers should re-sign, Jordan Reed. Jordan Reed looked so good against the Saints, making tough catches on third down. That one play where he plucked the ball a couple inches off the ground with one hand. I like the chemistry between Nick Mullins and Jordan Reed. And I believe it was the Giants game where Reed eventually got hurt, where he was balling out with Nick Mullins in the beginning, had a couple touchdowns in that game. So I'm looking for them to build off of that. Jordan Reed has been really fun to watch. He's been a very pleasant surprise this year. There were a lot of concerns about him playing football with his concussion history. He's those concerns still exist, don't get me wrong, but it's so clear and evident that Jordan Reed can play the tight end position, specifically as a receiver, as a pass catching tight end at a very high level.
That's a really good, Matt. That's a really good one because the 49ers didn't have they don't have George Kittle now, but they had him last time, and they didn't have Jordan Reed. So it's kind of one of those ones where it should be nice to see. Going to the offense, how do you think Kyle Shanahan's going to attack this defense? Because they have Jalen Ramsey. You would assume Jalen Ramsey would be matched up on Deebo Samuel all night. So how do you really attack them in the pass game with your receiver one pretty much being out?
I'm going to go back and correct myself before I answer that question. It was against the Jets. The Jets is the game where Jordan Reed caught the 2 touchdown passes. I got my New York confused there. How does Kyle Shanahan attack the Rams secondary? The Rams secondary is so good. Very, very underrated. Outside of Jalen Ramsey, they have John Johnson. They have Troy Hill. They have a cornerback, Williams, who's playing exceptionally well. If you see what they have accomplished against top-tier passing offenses like the Buccaneers and the Seahawks, they blanketed Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. You cannot throw the ball downfield against the Rams, and that's why Kyle Shanahan had a masterful game plan against them when they matched up. He dared their cornerbacks and their linebackers to make tackles in space. That's the weakness of the Rams defense right there. If you're going to throw the football, it's not to throw it downfield because they have such a phenomenal secondary. It's to throw it, get the ball out of your hands quickly, and let your playmakers go to work. So that same game plan needs to be on the forefront of what the 49ers are trying to do. But what I'm very interested in seeing is how Brandon Staley, first-year defensive coordinator for the Rams, adjusts to what the 49ers did to them the first time around. It's not going to be as easy this time. They're going to make the necessary adjustments. What that's going to look like, we'll see on Sunday, or tomorrow rather. But it's hard to imagine Nick Mullins being able to attack the Rams. It would be hard for the majority of quarterbacks. Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, these are elite NFL quarterbacks struggling to push the ball down the field, even 10, 15, 20 yards down the field against this Rams secondary. So Kyle Shanahan needs to go a heavy dose of Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr. and try to get the ball out quickly to Deebo Samuel and hell, even Richie James. Richie James is explosive after the catch. So that's what I'd like to see.
See, for me, the reason why it's going to be a lot harder for the 49ers offense to get anything going is because as much as everyone wants to say they could replicate what they did to Aaron Donald, that's not going to happen 2 games in a row against the same team. Aaron Donald's in a wreck havoc. Even if they had Daniel Brunskill there, Daniel Brunskill would not be able to replicate what he did a week 6. No one can. Aaron Donald's just a monster, and I think he's going to be a big problem for the 49ers on Sunday. And for me, like you were saying, get the ball out quick, as fast as possible. Make the D-line early, and that's what I like what Kyle Shanahan did week 6. He made that the first drive, the first couple plays, he made that D-line run sideline to sideline. So now he has them slowing down their clocks, thinking, shit, do I have to run sideline to sideline or can I get upfield? And once you start doing that, it kind of plays with your mind and doesn't allow you to get off the snap as fast as you normally would. And that's going to be the main thing. A lot of outside zone. But I kind of want to see, at this point, nothing to lose, Kyle. Dial up some fancy dancy plays. Dial up a trick play. I know everyone likes to run that outside zone with Raheem Mostert. I've been waiting for it. Line Deebo Samuel up on that same side. You're going to run the outside zone too. Run a toss and run a reverse with Deebo Samuel. Run a reverse. When Raheem Mostert has the ball, everyone's eyes go straight to Raheem. And if you run that end around off of the outside toss, it's going to be there. It would be there.
Yep. It's going to be a fun one. The 49ers have a chance to sweep the Rams for the second consecutive season. Robert Saleh, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan both came in to head coach their respective football teams. 2017, McVay got the best of Shanahan the first 4 times. Now Shanahan's on a 3-game win streak. This is a chance for the 49ers to, one, keep their playoff hopes alive. That's something we haven't even touched on yet, that the 49ers playoff hopes are still alive if they win this game. Mathematically, you can't say otherwise because they're mathematically still in the equation. If they win, even if they lose, they still might technically mathematically be in the equation. But if they're 5-6 with the Bills on Monday night, and that game is, who knows where it's going to be played, there's still hope. There's still hope, and the 49ers are getting healthy. If they can win this game with no Brandon Ayuk or Trent Williams potentially, and then come back following week and get those guys, there's a chance. So there's a lot of implications regarding this game, both for the status of playoff contention and for Kyle Shanahan to even the head-to-head record between him and Sean McVay, which I'm sure he's going to want to do. Final score prediction. How do you see this game going? Or you have one more thing you want to toss in there before we do that?
No, I like it. Final score prediction: the 49ers are going to score 13 points, but they're going to lose. It's going to be 27-13. They're going to lose.
14 points. Oh my!
Yes, the way the Los Angeles Rams have been playing, Nick, they've been playing at an elite level. I think they're the better team in the NFC West over the Seattle Seahawks. Their defense is tuned in. They have Jalen Ramsey who shuts down one side of the field for them. They have an elite defensive line. Whenever Aaron Donald's on their line, I don't care who else is along that D line. And they also have, I believe, Leonard Floyd. He's been coming into his own for them. Last time I watched them, he was making plays for them. So it's going to be real hard for the 49ers offense to get anything going. And everyone's going to be frustrated on Sunday. But at the end of the day, you look at it, they might get knocked out of the playoffs this weekend. But, hey, you have a lot to look forward to the rest of the season. We're going to have a lot of young dudes playing. We have McKivitz going in for his first career start, which he could potentially be there next year at that right guard spot, depending on how he plays the rest of the season. But mainly, I've already tuned into the NFL draft, even though we're way far out of the season. Still has a long way to go. I kind of started leaning towards the NFL draft, looking at players I've already liked for the 49ers. So I think it's going to be a 14-point game. Hope I'm wrong, though.
You touched on Colton McKivitz starting, and it's because Tom Compton suffered a concussion during walkthroughs. How you suffer a concussion during a walkthrough practice, who knows? I'd imagine maybe a football hit him in the head, or maybe he walks into a wall going to the locker room. The possibilities are endless as far as how you could, they're not really endless, but your imagination really gets going as far as how the hell do you suffer a concussion during a walkthrough practice. My score prediction, I'm going the 49ers 23-17. I believe that Raheem Mostert and Deebo Samuel provide enough of a spark offensively to be able to beat the Rams. These are two defenses that are playing exceptionally well. It's going to be a low-scoring game, but I do like the 49ers to win this matchup. Kyle Shanahan may have Sean McVay's number now that the talent has kind of evened out. 2017, if you look at 2017, there was a complete rebuild in the 49ers roster. Sean McVay inherited Todd Gurley and Jared Goff and Aaron Donald and all those great pieces that the Rams had. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch blew this thing up, started from scratch. So those two wins the Rams picked up in 2017, they were not that they weren't fair, but the two teams were on two completely different spectrums talent-wise. 2018, Jimmy Garoppolo goes down. The Rams finished 13-3. They swept the entire division, I want to say. And then now, 2019 comes around. The 49ers are on a similar talent level. Then the Rams, what happens? We get a sweep. 2020. Y'all Niner fans, we got a comment here. Y'all Niner fans really think that Houston will trade Deshaun Watson. I tweeted over the course of Thanksgiving, and we're getting sidetracked here. I tweeted over Thanksgiving that the 49ers would be wise to offer 3 first-round picks to the Texans, who do not have a first-round pick in 2021, for Deshaun Watson. The Houston Texans fan base got a hold of that tweet about an hour and a half ago, and They are like sharks when you drop. What's it called when you drop the there's a specific term that I'm looking for here. What the hell is it called?
It's also the taint. Like I don't know talking the. I know what you're talking about. I don't know what the term it is, but the thing is the Houston Texans fan base needs to realize that they're ran by a terrible ownership. I'm gonna go on a little tangent right now. They're ran by the worst ownership in the NFL. They had nothing going for them. Deshaun Watson requested a trade before he signed his extension. So what else are they thinking? So they ran by an ownership who is terrible. They just fired their general manager and head coach. Deshaun Watson requested a trade before he signed his extension. Their owner allowed them to trade the best receiver in the NFL for a bag of chips and a Pepsi. Yep. What makes you think they wouldn't want to trade Deshaun Watson if they were offered 3 first-round picks in this year's draft? Their owner could be like, hey, we could go get Trevor Lawrence. You do realize that their owner is a racist that Deshaun Watson does not want to play for. He has publicly said we cannot allow the inmates to run the team, to run the NFL. Come on now, Houston Texans fans. Let's get it together. Deshaun needs to be out of there. He does not want to be there.
The word I was looking for was chum. When you chum the water, you throw and then the sharks. That's what it was like. I guess my tweet was the chum, and the Houston Texans fans are the sharks, and they're just coming up and attacking it one after the other. Saying what they don't know, Marco, what they're unaware of is that just because there's a trade clause in your contract, it does not mean that it can't be waived. Deshaun Watson did not go public saying he wanted to be traded. That was not ever publicized. There are sources that we know of that have said Deshaun Watson requested a trade this past offseason before the contract extension came into place later on. Just because there's a no trade clause in Deshaun Watson's contract does not mean that it cannot be waived and go to a team that he wants to go to. We have another comment because they aren't in rebuild mode. They need a coach and they'll be contenders. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. The Texans would be wise to hold on to Deshaun Watson. But if you look, how can you build a team around a quarterback that is owed? One of his cap hits in 1 year is around $40 million. How do you build around that when the salary cap is going to be significantly lower because of the pandemic? You don't have any first-round picks this year. I don't believe you have a second-round pick either. You're draft capital hungry. If a new coach comes in, which I'm sure is going to happen, new general manager, yes, Deshaun Watson's a franchise quarterback. If they want to start fresh, start from scratch, because it's very hard to build around a quarterback that is absorbing so much of your cap space. So that's why the idea was thrown out. If new ownership, or not new ownership, but a new general manager takes over, new head coach, they have Deshaun Watson. He's owed a crazy amount of money over the course of the next 4 or 5 seasons. Maybe you want to blow things up, get a top 10 pick, top 12 pick this year from the 49ers, 2 more first-round picks, and build around a quarterback on a rookie contract that you're able to sign free agent pieces for. So that's where the Deshaun Watson idea came from. The 49ers are looking to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo. Deshaun Watson, who knows if the Texans would be willing to trade him. They just traded DeAndre Hopkins. Yes, it was Bill O'Brien. Yes, he got fired. But the ownership needs to sign off. Ownership needs to sign off on a move of that caliber. It's not just Bill O'Brien, who was not only the head coach, but also the GM making those decisions. It needs to get signed off when you make a move of that caliber. There's other people involved. So sorry, Houston Texans fans, just because there's a no trade clause in your contract does not mean you're locked in behind bars in Houston. Doesn't mean that you cannot escape the contract. You're not stuck in there forever. You can waive the clause if you find a trade partner that you like.
And the thing is they're not contenders. Their defense is terrible. Their defense is terrible. Poor Deshaun Watson has no weapons to throw to. So how do you expect to contend with no draft capital? No one really wants to play for that ownership. How do you? That's just funny how the Houston Texans. It's just funny how the Houston Texans. Like, I understand you don't trade away elite quarterbacks like this. You don't. But the thing is, you didn't say that Deshaun Watson is going to be traded to the 49ers. You said it makes sense for both teams. It makes sense for both parties. It really does. The 49ers are looking for a franchise quarterback. The Houston Texans should be looking to explode that whole entire thing and rebuild from scratch. But it's just funny how a lot of fan bases they'll take one little thing and they'll run a mile with it.
Yeah, it's out of our control. But Houston Texans fans, we appreciate you. We have some Texans fans tune in today.
Hey, no, but I do appreciate the Houston Texans because if the Houston Texans keep losing, Miami Dolphins is a spot the 49ers can trade up to. So the Houston Texans, I do appreciate you.
We love all NFL fans on this pod. We don't discriminate against any person that roots for a team outside of the 49ers. You're all welcome to listen, whether you're in San Francisco, Modesto, San Jose, Houston, Dallas, wherever you are in Texas, you are welcome. This concludes the most latest episode of the Faithful Fanatic podcast. We got thrown off there on my final score prediction. I'm going to toss it out one more time. 49ers 23, Rams 17. That's my final score prediction. This is the end of the Faithful Fanatic podcast. We had some Texans fans come in to excite us tonight. Deshaun Watson, will he be moved this offseason? Just because he has a no-trade clause does not mean that he cannot be traded. He can waive it if he goes or has a trade offer from a team he'd like to go to. DeForest Buckner found a trade partner for the 49ers this past offseason. It can be done. Let's sign things off. We're 52 minutes deep. Thank you guys for tuning in. We hope you've had a wonderful holiday, and we'll see you again Sunday night, Monday night, sometime shortly after the 49ers and Rams game. Thanks for tuning in.